What really surprised me is that any media you consume, whether it is music, television, movies, even print media, I read quite a bit. It is all distributed, created, and manufactured by one of the six corporations. Years ago, when I found this out, as I was doing some research, what really took me by surprise is that I assumed, and quite ignorantly, obviously so, is that each of these individual television networks had their own bosses, had their own program writers, had their own content, and they were not subservient to a larger entity. But all they really are is corporate media. And that is the most accurate statement I've heard. I know you hear dinosaur media, mainstream media, and those are all accurate descriptions. But the most accurate would be corporate media. Because these corporations that own the media, they have CEOs and owners, they have stockholders, they have share prices, they have different departments, just like Walmart, General Motors, or Amazon. They are corporations. And what does a corporation do? A corporation creates a good or a service in order to get products, in order to get revenue. So the news that is corporately owned is created not to inform you, not to educate you on the most pressing issues of the country or abroad, but to get you engaged emotionally. That way you'll watch their 2-minute segments, you'll get angry, and then there'll be more eyes on their advertisers. Therefore, there'll be more of a demand to pay to advertise for their news programs. So the way I have set this up, the way I would distribute it, speaking of distribution, is I will mention the name of the corporation. I will mention some of the notable networks that they own in network television. I will mention the owner's name, their net worth. Firstly, we'll get into the corporations themselves and the network television. Then we'll get into the music and the movie studios. The first corporation is National Amusements. National Amusements owns BET, CBS, CBS Sports, Epix, CMT, Flix, Comedy Central, MTV, MTV Films, all the Nick channels, Nick Jr., Nickelodeon, Teen Nick, Nick at Night, CW, VH1, Viacom, Teen Nick, Spike, Smithsonian, Simon & Schuster, Book Company, TV Land, 24/7 Sports, and the TV Guide. The owner is Sumner Redstone. This corporation is sort of unique to the rest in that it has an actual owner, who is Sumner Redstone. His net worth is $4.6 billion. Now, this is what I think about every owner or CEO. The rest of them have CEOs. And that is, when you're worth $4.6 billion, you can hire, fire, demote, promote anyone you want with the snap of a finger. So Sumner Redstone gets to pick what content is distributed. If he doesn't like the content, if it goes against his views, if it is counterintuitive to his views, he can simply fire who was responsible for that, even the entire studio. So these one percenters, while profiting off of the content that they're distributing, also want to protect their own financial interest at the top. That is why the news is there to dumb us down. If we become educated enough to think critically, then we will no longer consume what the 1% is producing. But that's another issue. The second is Disney, and I think it is widely known, unless you're living under a rock, even to me who does not keep up with entertainment. The only type of entertainment I keep up with is sports. That's about it. I don't keep up with movies and films and TV shows and who's dating who and all that bullshit. I think it's a waste of time. If that's your thing, that's your prerogative, that's fine. I think it is widely known that Disney owns Marvel and Lucasfilms. But what surprised me is just how large the mouse ears have really gotten. Disney owns A&E, ABC, all of the Disney companies, so Disney Channel, Disney XD. But what surprised me was that they owned ESPN. But I noticed that ESPN got a lot more political than they used to be. I remember when I was in high school, I used to love turning it on to see the sports news, the highlights, the trades, the injuries, and analysis. The other day I was turning it on to see what was the standings for the pennant race, the wild card. And they were discussing Donald Trump. And it's like, what the hell? Every other news channel discusses him, even Comedy Central and MTV. It's like, that's all they talk about. I want to see the sports highlights. You have FYI, the History Channel, Lifetime. They also own Pixar Film Studio. They bought them out. They also own Vice. And their CEO is Bob Iger, who's worth $44.9 million. All these CEOs have the same views. Bob Iger even said, if they don't stop killing babies, we will not film in Georgia. Part of it is population control. That's why they're promoting feminism. And that's why they support abortion. The third is AT&T. They own Adult Swim, Boomerang, Cartoon Network, Cinemax, CNN, HBO, HBO Sports, Looney Tunes, Mad, New Line Cinema, TBS, TCM, The CW, True TV, TNT, all the Turner networks, Warner Brothers, William Street, who produces Rick and Morty and Adult Swim cartoons, DC Comics, Time Life Magazine, Life Magazine, and they also have Internet, which is Time Warner Cable. AT&T bought Time Warner with a media merger, so there's even less companies now. And this happened recently. They merged with that company. Yeah, Ted Turner does not even own his own content anymore. Remember years ago when Ted Turner had a lot to say, had a big leeway in terms of CNN's content. It was news. It wasn't bad. If you really watched CNN when it first started, even in the 2000s, 2008, 2009, I mean, it had its fair share of fake news and agenda, but it was less obvious. And they reported a lot more factual news. You could know the difference between the news department versus the editorial department. You know, what's crazy is these news anchors call themselves news anchors. No, they're not news anchors. Walter Cronkite was a news anchor. He would report the news, he would read off the teleprompter and wouldn't say his opinion. A commentator is someone who comments. So we often confuse commentators with reporters who are supposed to report the facts. I mean, what's a police report? It's a reporting of the facts. You can comment on the facts, but when you comment, you're a commentator, you're not a reporter. So we have AT&T, and they're owned by Randall L. Stevenson, net worth of $140 million. Like I said, when you have that much fucking money, no one's telling you what to do. Comcast, Big Idea, which is a Christian network. I used to like it growing up. Bravo, E. You're supposed to worry about the Kardashians rather than your own life, your own community, your own family, your political freedoms being taken away. It's a diversion. CNBC, Fandango, DreamWorks, Illumination, so these film studios. MSNBC, NBC News, NBC Universal, NBC Sports, NHL, Style, Sci-Fi, the Weather Channel. Even the damn Weather Channel is owned by one of these corporations. Universal, so Universal Studios, Style, Sprout, which is for kids, Educating the Young Minds, USA Network. They also own Comcast Infinity Internet. Their CEO, Brian L. Roberts, $40.8 million. His daddy gave him that company. He's lucky his daddy gave him that company, that son of a bitch. You have News Corp, which is Fox, Fox Business, all the Fox companies, besides 21st Century Fox, which is the entertainment wing of the corporation. It is owned by Disney now. So 21st Century Fox Film Studio, as well as The Simpsons and King of the Hill and other entertainment content, is now owned by Disney. But News Corps is your basic neoconservative content. Bullshit. Geographic, Speed, Big Ten, Network. And they also own the New York Post, Market Watch, and Financial News. This is basically your Bush, Paul Ryan, establishment corporate conservatism. They support the Iraq War and Libya. It's crazy, though. It's like, I totally oppose these things. You know, Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh were all for the Iraq War, and they still to this day will justify it till they're blue in the face. But it's like, if you look at Libya, it is worse off than it was before we intervened. The GDP is lower, the violent crime is higher, the violence is higher, there's no access to drinking water, they're less literate. I mean, they were the most literate country in Africa before this. But the reason they did this is because Gaddafi was creating a pan-African currency that would make the people have currency that was not based on debt, and they wouldn't be subservient to the international bankers that own everything. They own this fucking country. Same thing with Iraq. Saddam Hussein was going to switch to the British pound, but that's another issue for another day. Like Mike Tyson said, he was astute enough to understand this. He who controls the currency makes the laws. Now let's get into Sony. Sony owns a lot more in terms of music. So some of the artists they own, some of the popular ones, they own a lot, but would be Miley Cyrus, Calvin Harris, Future, Elvis, Johnny Cash, Alex and Sierra, Avril Lavigne, the Backstreet Boys, Bob Dylan, Bow Wow. It was funny, too. There was this interview with Bob Dylan, because I like classic rock. That's probably my favorite genre of music. There was an interview with Bob Dylan where he's like, I made a deal with it, and I'm throwing up my end of the bargain, when they were asking him, you know, you're old. Why don't you just retire and enjoy the fruit of your labor? And he's like, well, I made a deal with it, and I'm putting my end of the bargain. So Bob Dylan literally admitted on national television. You can look this up on YouTube. I saw this on YouTube. I don't watch a lot of network television, where he literally admitted that he sold his soul to the devil. And so Sony owns that. Look at Comcast. Comcast owns Universal Music Group. Universal Music Group owns the rights to 5 Seconds of Summer, Akon, Amy Winehouse, Ariana Grande, Avenged Sevenfold, Avicii, the Bee Gees, the Beatles, the Backstreet Boys, Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, Rihanna, Mariah Carey, Kanye West, Maroon 5, Imagine Dragons, Lil Wayne, Jay-Z, Adele, Coldplay, Elton John, One Direction, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Soulja Boy, and Lorde. That is Comcast, the same people that own NBC. AT&T is owned by Warner Music Group. AT&T owns Warner Music Group, which is a subsidiary. They want you to think, oh, Warner Music Group is its own individual group. It is not owned by any of these groups. They own the rights to Ed Sheeran. I think that's his name. I don't listen to that shit. 21 Pilots, Madonna, David Guetta, Linkin Park, Wiz Khalifa, Jason Derulo, Phil Collins, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Cher, Pitbull, Skillet, Rod Stewart, the Eagles, Paramore, Neil Young. And Warner Music Group has another subsidiary. See, they're trying to make these things look like different corporations. Most individuals don't take the time to read a book, much less read into societal, corporate, and political structures. Warner Music Group owns Atlantic Records. And remember, AT&T owns Warner Music Group, and Warner Music Group owns Atlantic Records. And they own the rights to Cardi B and Bruno Mars. So the same people that own CNN own the rights to Cardi B's music. Here is the movie studios, 20th Century Fox. I call it 21st Century. I don't know about this shit. I'm more into ancient history. societal structures, political structures, economics, engineering structures. I'm not into this entertainment shit. But I know the best way to reach people is to talk about the entertainment shit because they're not as into the other things. And so to get your message across, you have to have a broad knowledge base and different societal structures. That way you can get your message across. But these movie studios, 20th Century Fox is owned by Disney. Arco Pictures, and some of their films are with Universal, is owned by Comcast. And they're owned by AT&T. Paramount Pictures, Viacom owns it. See, it's another subsidiary. It's National Amusements. Warner Brothers, Warner Media, another subsidiary, owns it. That's AT&T. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, owner MGM Holding. MGM Holding, let's buy stock in that company. Oh wait, it's Comcast. And so, all of the music you listen to, Cardi B, Elton John, Imagine Dragons, Maroon 5, Jennifer Lopez, Jimi Hendrix, John Legend, any TV show you watch, any news program you watch, any movie you go see is owned by one of these 6 corporations. There's 6 of them, but most of the big 5, Sony's getting a lot larger, but the big 5, commonly referred to as the big 6, owns the distribution of the content. Now, what are the similarities? And these are the facts. First thing is, they're promoting feminism. They're promoting male and female divisiveness. So the male and female are divided. They're competing. They're against the nuclear family structure. They're promoting LGBTQ. They're promoting white versus black people. So they're promoting the agenda of divisiveness. They're promoting how masculinity is toxic. They all hate Trump. And that's why Trump was interesting to me, because he kind of seems like a threat. I mean, if he's not a threat, why is it that Comedy Central, NBC News, and Cardi B all hate the guy? If all of these evil structures that are trying to fuck over our country, why do they all hate Trump? Because maybe Trump is not part of the political structure, part of the structure. That's another issue for another day, but they all hate Trump. They all are promoting Islam. They all are promoting socialism. Think about this. You dumb down the population. You let in individuals who are not compatible with the societal structure. Male and female are divided. You promote endless wars. You promote socialism, globalism, feminism, every ism you can. The society collapses. There is no strong family structure, and then the 1% consolidates its power. And it's crazy, though, even in kids' shows. I remember there's a Disney show called Good Luck Charlie. When I was watching one of my cousins, it was on. And in that show, the dad was dumb. The dad was a fool. The dad couldn't do anything right. The mom always rolled her eyes at the dad. The kids always looked at the dad as a joke. I mean, it was just the dad could do nothing right. But I remember Leave It to Beaver. Man, their dad would kick some ass. When their dad said Wally, Beaver, they would listen to him. They would respect him. He was the man of the house. I mean, the Brady Bunch, the dad was the man of the house. The kids respected him. He kicked their ass when they needed it. I mean, it's not like that anymore. They're promoting chaos. They're promoting globalism. They're promoting society being dumbed down, women being sluts. All of them are promoting the same thing, to consolidate the power of the 1%. And that's all it is.